Hi, Dennis Weiss. Welcome to Our Town. We're at Great Plains Theater. We have Mark Picking over here as my guest today. We have costumes in the back, of which you refused to put one on. So here we are, but Great Plains Theater, so generous with always letting us use their space. So great to have the theater here in town that we can come in and enjoy, and the youth program, and so I always do a little commercial for them because they're a great place and we love them. But Our Town is glad to have them, but we're also glad to have Abilene Rental, which I was at yesterday. And as I walked in to talk to you about doing this show, I saw a microcosm of what I wanted to talk about. I held the door for somebody who was renting, looks like maybe the thing you put sheetrock up on the ceiling with, right? Yep. Two people carrying that out, very happy to have it, I can tell you. They were very glad because they were thinking, we don't have to do this. Right. Instead, we just jack it up there and hold it, and that's terrific. So I go in and you're on the phone doing software support for somebody across the country somewhere. But then here comes Bob Wilson with chainsaw, and all geared up for the cold. He came in and gave it to your mom and said, yeah, it'll start, but it won't keep, the chain won't go. He said, I don't know what's wrong with it. I tried to look at it, and she said, no, just leave it. She puts a tag on it. I thought, you know, that's the great story that most people don't talk about very often. So Abilene Rental, how did it start?
1975, my dad retired from the Air Force.
Okay.
The original place we are at now, or the place we're at now, the original place was a half-mile west. It was an old donut shop. My grandma made donuts. That was the first donut shop in Abilene, to my knowledge. My grandpa raised watermelons, cantaloupes. And we got to start down there in 1975. Dad actually was an installer for Sears. He'd install chain link fence, he'd install garage door openers, put me to work, I'd help him. I've worked there ever since I was a kid in high school. Kind of humble beginnings. Then Dad had already had his pilot's license, so then he started doing certified flight instructor, instrument rated, and giving people biannual rides on their pilot's license. And he was flying charters for Dean and Sam Evans out of Salina. And the rest of the time, Mom and I were there working, and Mom had a desk that actually was in the house, and you could look out and see if anybody pulled in the shop. And she'd come out, or I'd come out from the north building, and we'd wait on you.
Okay, so you touched on a couple things that I love about Abilene, that this used to be a hub of watermelon and cantaloupe agriculture. And you run into people, nobody seems to know that. I didn't know it until a friend of mine said, we were out at Long Sand,
Sand Springs.
Sand Springs, and my dad raised watermelon and cantaloupe. I go, watermelon and cantaloupe? He said, oh yeah, it's huge industry here.
Well, and not to say anything bad or indifferent, but my grandma or grandpa, we still have the letter from Dwight Eisenhower when he brought his come back.
Oh, really?
He thanked us for feeding them.
Well, how's that bad or indifferent?
Because well, I'm just saying he thanked my grandma and grandpa for providing watermelons to his troops that came back, and I think it was towards the inauguration when he announced his bid to run for president. And so we have a piece of family history somewhere.
So we didn't know Abilene Rental was going to be a history story today,
no, we didn't.
Did we?
No.
Okay, so I've always said, well, I told James Holland, our new sales rep for commercials, I said, we need to do some things with Mark Picking. I go, he's got the guts to do it. So we need to do some courageous things and some fun things, and so he'll be talking to you about that. But I think of all the things that you have said to me when I walk in the door there, needing something or wanting something. And I think it's a great basis of your business is you can get almost anything there, and if you can't get that anything there, ask you for it anyway, and you'll find it and bring it and set it up, make it work. That's a level of service that is so local and so valuable. Gosh, it's easy to think about Amazon But Amazon can't do the things that Abilene Rental can do.
Well, yeah, you're right. And that's one of the things that I just frickin' absolutely hate.
Maybe I shouldn't have broached that one.
Well, I'm just, you know, when you buy out of town, you buy on Amazon, you buy on eBay, you do this, you take sales tax dollars away. Here's a different way of looking at that.
Okay.
If you don't spend X amount of money and generate X amount of tax in this town, do you really think your rent's going to go down? Do you think your utility's going to go down? Do you think your house payment's going to go down? No. When you don't buy in town, the county, the city does not have that money to generate the support for the ambulance, the police, the sheriff, whatever.
And that's all absolutely true, Mark. And when we, in our own discussions, talk about it, we talk about it exactly the same way. But somewhere along the line, sitting here on this side of that camera, it came to me that this is something that needs not told, but sold. Telling is easy. Facts, 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 boom, done. Now you're smart enough, you should make a decision. Well, people don't operate that way. So I think we need to sell it. I think we need to sell people the value of local. And one of the things I'm attempting to do today, frankly, setting in Great Plains Theater, kind of already said that, but when my wife stumbled onto this opportunity to have a theater out there, as she walked in, as she does with her eyes and looks around and said, this is perfect, someday, after we do all these things to it. Well, one of the things we had to do was to paint the old stained acoustic tiles up there a black color so you could then light the theater. Son-in-law was a commercial house painter before he moved back home to Kansas, so of course we enlisted the relatives to come help, especially son-in-law. You know, you can't beat son-in-laws for slavery, you know, so that's what we did. And Les is a great guy. Sure, I'll come paint, brought his machine and everything. Well, the floor is a long ways from the ceiling here. So my wife called you and you brought a lift and we wiggled it in through the doors and got it in there and put the thing up, and for a day and a half we painted that ceiling, and you could not believe how much paint that thing soaked up. Oh, but without that lift, it would have been impossible. We'd have never got it done.
Right.
So not only did you have it, but you brought it, and I think at the end of the day you didn't even charge them for it.
It was a donation.
You can't get that on Amazon. Nope. Okay?
Nope,
so
you're right.
It's the value of local. You know, I always tell people, if you're concerned about your property tax, and right now we're filming in December the 6th or 7th, Dave, what is it? 6th. Okay, so we're filming December 6th. Well, December 20th, your local first half property taxes are due for most people on their house, right? So you have a new neighbor outside of town. You have Loves out there on your side of town. We have 24/7 reinvestment in our community there. But one of the things in economic and community development thought that's a fact is that businesses consume far less in services than they pay in taxes. Residents are the opposite. So if you really care about your property tax going down, and you will here by December 20th, then you should also be interested in local business doing well. Because if local business does well, we can drive residential property taxes down.
Well, and when you say that, I'm truly, you know, you have Kubota now buying Alco Warehouse.
Yeah.
You have Loves moving in.
Yeah.
You had 24/7 reinvested in the community.
Yeah.
In fact, the manager of 24/7 is one of my classmates.
Oh, no kidding.
So, and she's been working in Salina. She moved back from Wichita, I think, and moved back here to take a job locally, be around us. But what was it? Just 30 days ago, they announced sales tax increases, and they attributed it to Loves and 24/7. That's great. That's awesome. I mean, we're starting to get some traction to go back to where we were, not be a town of antique stores and pharmacies, but don't take that wrong.
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah.
I like antiques. I like pharmacies, but there's more to life than having just that in the town.
Yeah, some disclaimer here. We're not professionals at this, right?
No,
we
not
just
at all.
having a conversation, but it's what this show has always been about. Just having a conversation. We don't edit anything, and then everybody gets their shot. So you said they announced sales tax rising, not the rate of sales tax, the collection of sales taxes going
Yeah,
up.
it was like 20% or something like that.
Well, we have been so dependent on one single source of retail sales tax in Abilene. That's Tim Holm. Thank you, Holm Automotive. My God, thank you. Abilene should thank you, thank you, thank you every chance we get. That is our sales tax, right?
Sure is.
But all of these things you just mentioned, this little percentage down here, if that starts to grow, that is so good for Abilene. As business spreads, wealth spreads with it. Those people that are working at these new places and that additional revenue that's going there, that's coming into the community, gets respent. So you get the multiplier effect on that times about 6 or 7 times that dollar turns around. Your business will grow because of Love's. No, there isn't any choice. That money that's being generated here, somebody will come buy a chainsaw.
It's kind of like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, if you build it, it gives them an opportunity to come. They can't come if it isn't built.
Right.
So there we go. So I do have a complaint though.
Okay.
My back, you're costing me quality of life at Abilene Rental, and I hold you personally accountable for that. Because at one time I had an old chainsaw. You pull it and it went brr, brr, and it always start, but it only ran about 5 minutes. So that was as long as I ever had to go out and use the chainsaw to cut anything. It was 5 minutes, and I could live through that. Now I was really irritated about it, but it did. Behind me, in my back of my mind, I knew I was secretly glad that darn chainsaw only ran 5 minutes, because that meant I only had to use it for 5 minutes. And then I wandered into your place and you sold me a new Echo. And that darn thing, not only does it start, but it runs till you're so darn tired you can't hardly wiggle. Every time I use it, it starts and runs till I'm done.
I'll tell you the same thing my wife will tell you. Probably the same thing your wife told you. Exercise, getting better.
Yes, she did. I must confess that those words have been uttered. Golf doesn't seem to help my back any. I don't know about you, but it doesn't help my back any. But that's her preferred thing to go do, so we'll go swing that club. But hey, I had a huge pile of limbs for our Thanksgiving bonfire this year.
There you go.
And
cool.
That darn chainsaw was the reason why. Okay, so let's talk about your business.
Okay.
Okay, chainsaws we know you have. Things you sell. Cub Cadets, you're a Cub Cadet dealer.
We sell Cub Cadet riding lawnmowers. Yep. We sell Toro push mowers. Okay. We sell Echo handheld chainsaws, trimmers. We sell Husqvarna handheld. We are a U-Haul dealer. We are the only place in town to get propane pumped into your bottle. You can do the exchanges, but we're the only ones that pump it into your bottle.
If you have an old 40-pound bottle you need filled, you can get it filled.
And it's way cheaper. I mean, and not to be applied against my competitors, but normally they will give you 15 pounds of propane for 20 bucks. I'm going to give you 20 pounds of propane for $13.
That's a good trade.
So we always had the motto, we service what we sell and we service the rest. We work on anything, Sears, Ryder, MTD, whatever we're not a dealer for, we'll work on it, Ryobi. We've been really fortunate that Abilene has supported us. Like I said, since 1975 we opened up, and we just keep getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger.
So while I was out, my wife will really appreciate this story. While I was out visiting my brother in Colorado for 2 weeks riding his mules, which was great. Hadn't got to spend any time with my brother for 30, 35 years, other than a day or two. So spent 2 weeks and all we did was ride mules in the country I grew up. So it was tremendous. But while I was gone, she came and rented the big belt sander for the floors.
Right.
and refinished the dining room floor because I hadn't got it done.
Way to go.
Thank you. So not only did she do it, I got a vacation. How fair is that? Not very.
No.
Okay.
You're going to pay for that one.
I'm going to pay for that one, I think maybe appropriately. But her and my son got that done. And so, you know, I think of things that people, there's a lot of old wood floors in Abilene. We're in historic Abilene. A lot of these old houses have old, good old hardwood floors under some crappy rug, right? So if you want to turn that crappy rug into the appropriate pile of junk out at the transfer station, go ahead and do that, because under there and down at Abilene Rental, you have all that stuff to turn that into a brand new looking floor.
Yeah, what's amazing to me is a lot of people come in, they say, hey, we had carpet on the floor, we just bought the house. They pull up the carpet and they say, the floor looks brand new.
Yeah.
They didn't varnish it, they didn't stain it. They just seen it, throwed carpet over it, and went on. It's like, you know, and they're pretty. My mom has wood floors in her house, and they are pretty when they're sanded up right. The one thing you said earlier, and I don't know this for a fact, but I've always been told that if a meal or a packed meal is loaded and it's crooked, in other words, it weighs maybe 50 pounds on the right leg and 20 on the left, meal won't move.
Well, there's a whole lot of things that are said about mules that aren't true, but they are a lot like politicians. There's a lot more promise there than delivery. So, but my brother would make the point, it's all how you train your mule. So he has some fantastic animals, and I proved a couple of things while I was there. That one, I can still ride, and so we made some real progress on his young mules, and second of all, I guess I proved that I can learn to live with a mule too, because I did so for 2 weeks and had a great time. So,
well, cool.
But okay, so all right, you asked about mules and packs. Interestingly enough, I have the answer to that question. So my Uncle Tom and Uncle Clayton, World War II, they went from Southwest Colorado to Fort Leonard Wood for basic training, went from there to California, got on a boat, went to England, went to North Africa into the Horn of Italy, all the way up through Italy, through the Po Valley, and until the Germans were in full retreat, and that's where they shipped out of. At the end, and when Hitler found in the bunker dead, they came home. So they were in combat, after they got out of basic training, they were in combat from North Africa all the way through till the European theater turned over. One of the things that Uncle Clayton came home and told a story about was the packers in Italy, and he was so mad at them. He said they'd fill the left side with 50 caliber ammo cans and the right side with rocks to balance the load, and because he grew up with stock, it just infuriated him, and they always had saddle sores on those poor mules and things. So I'm pretty sure they move whether they're unbalanced or not, but they just don't move very happy.
Yeah, no, I don't think they do.
Okay.
One thing that just hit me when you started talking about going overseas and everything, I'd like to give a small shout out. I don't know if it'll make it, but Ann Ducey Walker and Gus Walker are overseas right now, and I'd like to shout out to them. I've talked to them sometimes. They're related to Tony Haug from Haug Realty, and he's a golfer.
Yeah.
And
what are they doing over there?
He's an advisor for the Army.
Okay.
He was an ex-helicopter pilot at Fort Riley when he retired, and he's over there doing some the civilian side of work for the Army. Okay. And I think they're on a 3-year stint.
All right.
And I mean, the pictures he says on Facebook and everything is awesome.
Well,
he's enjoying himself.
When we publish this on the internet, you can email it to them and they can watch it. How's that?
Yeah.
Ensure that they get it. So the other thing I guess I learned is your mom knows the business pretty well. Learned this yesterday.
Yes.
Because she took 2 phone calls while I was waiting on you to get off your software support call, and somebody wanted to know about a car dolly. And she went through the process of how it works, and they need to come make sure the hitch is safe and all that. And then she gave them an option for a 15-foot flatbed truck. And I'm listening to that, and I knew you had car dollies because I saw them, but I didn't know you had a 15-foot flatbed truck, right? And accompanying music, because you didn't turn your phone off. You're going to have to push the button there.
That's my text message.
Okay, your text message. All right. So, but of all the things that you can buy, you went through pretty well. There's other things you probably didn't mention, like the gas and oil that actually makes a chainsaw work really well. We're down to 2 minutes. But I think the tagline that fits your business is, you either have it or you'll get it if you need to rent something.
You're exactly right. I mean, and you know, an example of that is, I think you guys have seen all the pipeline being laid around here.
Yep.
The company come into town, they needed some more traffic signs, more than what I had, and cones. And I turned around and said, hey, if I can have it here by next week, is that going to be happy? And he says, yeah. And so now they've had 3 months worth of rent on it.
That's great.
So, I mean, you just don't know what's available until you ask. And you know, we started that slogan, just ask us, on our TV commercials.
Yep.
And it's never been so true. I mean, I will go out of my way, just like with UPS packages, when the store closed down, I will be a shipping point for them. We can't lose what we have in this town.
Well, you're one of the most passionate spokespersons for local, and we're going to keep doing this all year long. We continue to talk about local business. We'll put other people in whose stories are very similar to yours, whose point of view is very similar to yours. It's how, if you love our town, you love our community, then invest in it by buying what you need here. My aim is to illuminate that we have what you need here. And you're a great example of that. Tell them where you're at.
Abilene Rental, 1701 West First Street, Abilene, Kansas. We do have a website, www.abilenerental.com.
Okay. All right. Mr. Picking.
Thank you, Dennis.
Always good to talk to you. Maybe we'll see you on the golf course once or twice next year.
A lot more next year.
Well, you'll be there, but me, I'll be once or twice. I'm Dennis Weiss. I work for Eagle Communications. We love our community. We love our town. We're glad you were here to share it with us today. Have a great day.